Welcome everyone to the first of my videos looking at interesting starts that you can do in the new Crusader Kings Iberia DLC, which it's exciting, it's very good. It also really adds a lot of flavour to a fantastic region in the game. But to make the most out of that flavour, what you really need to be doing is starting with some of the most interesting characters of the period. So we're going to look today at one of those characters, and that character is here. It's Infanta Urraca. The game lists her as one of the hardest characters to start as in the explained starts in the game, and from one perspective they're not wrong. We're going to start as the countess of only 2 counties, and we've got a lot of other things we need to deal with, which we'll find out soon. But actually, it's also a really good example of a start that just requires you to think a little bit different about how you plot and how you gain territory. Because Urraca's game is one of plotting, it's not one of conquest. And I think that makes it really interesting. Hard, yes. Interesting, definitely. So let's dive in and I'll talk you through some of the early moves you need to make to just get the Infanta Urraca stable so that you can get the most out of the new DLC. So the first thing you'll notice about starting as Urraca is we're a single county in northern Spain, and that obviously is going to be a bit daunting, and the thing it does rule out is military might as a way of doing things. And the trick is not to worry about that, because actually we start with pretty damn high intrigue. We're also a deceitful person. We have intrigue of 13, and that means we've got a good chance of actually plotting our way onto the thrones of all 3 of these kingdoms. And we can get all 3, because all 3 of them are run by our brothers. And our brothers, all of them, have us in their line of succession. It's just a matter of time and spiders until those kingdoms can become ours. Now there's one other word of caution to worry about with Urraca when you start out. She doesn't have any children. And that's a situation we're going to need to correct very quickly by marrying someone who can give us some good children. But more importantly, we also need to be very aware starting off that she has a lover, and it's a lover we don't really want because it's our own brother. And that might be very CK3. It's not going to help us in the run. So the first thing we actually want to do is break up with our lover. He's not going to like us, but that's too bad. It doesn't really matter because we're not planning on him being around on Earth for much longer. We're going to go straight to a murder scheme, and as you can see, even before we've picked our trait bonuses and everything else, we're running at a 95% chance of killing him. So we're going to start that scheme. You'll notice that we've already got some agents, and actually we're also just going to flick ourselves over to intrigue, and we're going to start on the skullduggery focus, because right now killing people is important to us. Then finally we're going to have a look, and we're going to take a look at our council, and we're going to make sure that our spy master is this chap, Belledu Dolphus. He starts as a member of your court, and he has a skill of 24. Flipping him to support schemes means you're well on your way to actually pulling this off. Now before I let the game run a bit and we'll wobbly lines our way into the future, where hopefully we're about to murder our own brother, it is just worth noting that we're not going to spend any of our gold on territory or improvements in our territory at the moment. We're going to hoard this because we might need it to get murdery, because we've got 3 people to kill as a minimum, but if they have kids we might have to kill more. Anyway, let's get stabby and let's get rid of our previously lover brother. Now we're about halfway through our plot to kill our brother here, and while this is going on we need to address something that I mentioned earlier, and that's the fact that we're not married. Now realistically, to get going in this start, we're going to get a lot of territory naturally. We're not going to need to marry for alliances to get territory. So actually kind of finding a spouse is probably about, at the moment, considering someone with good traits. So I've pre-filtered here to traits inheritable. And the good news is that normally in this start you will find there is at the very least someone intelligent or someone beautiful. But if you're really lucky, there's a genius floating around. And we're actually going to marry Nuno here because we've got 10 years to have some kids and we want them to be good ones. So we're hoping to get some geniuses. So before we carry on plotting to kill our brother, this is what we're up to now. We're going to get married. Give us some wedding presents and everything else, game, because we are happily married to a genius. Now one reason that I think this start is actually easier than the game tends to let on is 9 times out of 10 we're not the only one who likes the idea of murdering our brothers. And you'll notice actually from this dialogue message down here, we didn't even get to finish our scheme to kill him. He died about 2 months before our scheme came to completion. Oh dear, how sad, how sad. He is now dead. And you'll notice straight away that Castile as a result has now grown. Because actually the person who's inherited it, and who is our new liege, is King Sancho the Strong, now of Castile, our player, heir and brother. Now, that's great news for us, because it means that someone else is dead, and so what we're actually going to do is start plotting again. And the first thing we're going to do is plot to kill our other brother. Now, we've got a bit of a weaker scheme on this, but this is why we kept our money available. And you'll notice we got a bit from our wedding as well. Because if we pop over here, we're going to find that actually lurking in this list is enough people for us to get this back up to where we want it to be. Now, some of them are going to be too expensive, but that's fine. We can just go down this list and we can find the ones at lower levels that are actually going to give us what we need for much less gold. And in this place, we maybe go for the mayor, but actually, I don't think we really need that much. We're going to have a look at Gonzo here. 58, that'll do. He's in on the scheme. So now, it's time to sit back and let our next brother take the fall. King Sancho is dead, beat and trampled by his own subjects. The agitated peasants went wild, seeing their liege riding through the streets, and tore both him and several of his knights from their mounts, beating them to death. Many peasants were hanged, including my agitators, which means it cannot be traced back to me. And just like that, we've gone from having 3 brothers between us and the throne of Castile, and we're now down to just 1 brother left between us and the throne, because our brother underestimated the power of the mob. So let's start plotting now against the last man who needs to die. And, you know, he should kind of probably be a bit worried by this at this point. But that man is here. That man now ruling a much larger Castilian kingdom is King Garcia II of Castile. And you'll notice that he's not yet had time to have children, which is nice. We haven't had to kill any children on the way. But more importantly, his heir is us. So let's get started and let's murder this man. And again, we got a good chance straight up front, but we'll probably augment that when we get a bit of money by bringing in someone to help. Or we could hang back and wait. I don't think we need to. I think we're going to get lucky. We've almost finished trying to kill our last brother and get ourselves onto that fat throne of Castile. But obviously earlier we married because we started childless. And the good news is we've now got a son and heir. Now remember, we married a genius on the basis that it would increase our chances of getting a good kid. So let's have a look and see what we got. And we didn't get a genius, but we got pretty damn good. We've got an intelligent kid. Our player, heir and son, Nuno Urraca, is going to be pretty decent as long as he can stay alive. And there's still chance we'll get a backup or someone else on the way. So may you grow strong and wise, my son. And meanwhile, let's just watch and let's wait for this last plot to finish. My agents are prepared for weeks. The cook has been bribed to look the other way. The poison has been acquired, and the duck, it's a duck murder, was gifted to King Garcia alone. It will be rubbed with the poison, and the bed of herbs will mask the smell as it is served. The deadly bitterness will be the last thing my target ever tastes. Bon appetit, Garcia. And just like that, within 3 simple murders, we've gone from being a countess in the northern area of Spain to becoming queen of the whole of Castile. So let's have a look at our new kingdom, because our brother, oh dear, how sad, he died from eating that duck. And as you can see, we're also the new head of the dynasty. We now have a strong kingdom in the north. We have 4,000 troops. We have, well, the world is our oyster now. And more importantly, we have a whole bunch of titles that we can think about keeping or distributing. And that's the thing that you'll want to do next in this start. You want to follow my other videos and look at my other videos on what duchies are good to keep and which ones are good to give away and all that kind of thing. And that's part of the fun you can now have with this start. But the important thing I just wanted to show you is that it's really, really quick and easy to actually get Urraca into a position of power and to get yourself started on enjoying and unlocking so many of the new DLC features that you'll find in this game. From the struggle mechanics to everything else, this new DLC is excellent. And now, as Urraca, with our intelligent son, who is now ready and capable of continuing on our line, we're ready to do just that. So why don't you try it yourself, ignore some of those characters that the game tells you are easy, and start as Urraca. Plot your way to power. Remember, CK3 isn't just about painting a map with swords. Sometimes it's about doing it with ducks.
Mm-hmm.